Good morning, Facebook, and good morning, Instagram. Going live this morning for coffee and questions. Yeehaw! It's going to be the last one for a couple of weeks, so now is your opportunity to. Good morning, Facebook. Looks like you've only just kicked in now. Now's your last chance to jump on and ask me any questions about sports nutrition you like or nutrition before we take a couple of weeks break. Good morning, the plant-based dietitian, and Crunchy86, that would be you, Carmel, and Megan, good morning on Insta. Good morning, Eloise. Has everyone got a coffee to enjoy? So I haven't seen any questions come through this morning, but what I thought I might do, I've had so many questions about reviewing products lately that I thought I might actually do that. Good morning, Beck. So I'm going to talk you through the new-ish YoPRO protein bar this morning, which I found really hard to actually find. But we'll talk about that in a sec, and I'll taste it live on air for you. Hopefully it doesn't taste terrible. Has everyone got a coffee? So Facebook's got a new setup this morning, and I actually have no idea if there are people on or not. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see how we go if there's anyone on Facebook. There's a few of you guys on Insta. Has anybody got any questions for me? Ask away. Because, yeah, I don't think any came through. Oh, Carmel, I didn't see it. Sorry. What did you ask me? Can you type it into here for me? Yeah, I didn't get that notification. Depends when you did it as well. But yeah, type it into here for me if you can, and I'll try and answer it depending on what it is. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet, Carmel, so no curly ones. All right, so I guess before we get started, there's been so much going on at DA HQ lately, so I'll give you a quick rundown for anybody that's kind of missed what's going on. There's probably two major things. Number one is I've released a Triathlon Nutrition online course. We did that last week. So for any of the triathletes out there, this is the perfect place to start to get your nutrition sorted. So whether you're completely new to the sport or you've been doing it for a while, there's definitely some foundations that you need to get in place. And we talked about some of those mistakes that I see triathletes make really commonly last week. And so it's just making sure that you're not doing any of those things and laying some of those foundations no matter how long you've been in the sport for. If you've not had any nutrition information or education, then these are definitely things that you should be doing. Just realised that you guys weren't plugged in. Hopefully you can hear me. You make sure you are doing these things. Like they're not complicated, they're not difficult to implement. You just need a bit of information and education to be able to implement them, and then you've got that solid base to then build on. So last week we talked about like how you'd build a pyramid. We want to try and get the foundations of healthy eating and some of those fundamental things right first before we start layering on the sports nutrition principles and getting into the nitty-gritty of that. And then the very, very top is when we start playing with like the 1%ers. So things like caffeine, other sports nutrition products, supplements and things like that. Whereas most athletes start the other way. They start with the 1%ers first. You know, they start doing all these little tiny things that might make a tiny, tiny difference to their performance because everyone else is doing them, or it's a new flashy sort of thing, when really like you'll get better bang for your buck if you flip it the other way and do some of those foundations first. So that triathlon course is now live. It's currently on sale. It's $200 off. So if you are interested in that, then you need to grab it before it goes back up $200. So yeah, that's one main thing that's kicking along at HQ at the moment. And the second one is that our weekly menu planning service, the doors are open. They're open for one more week and then they close again for another 3 months. So if you want to have your whole dinners mapped out for you for the entire week, I don't have a template here actually. Should have put one in front of me. So I give you all of your dinners for the week. It's dietitian approved. Everything's balanced. It's healthy. The winter menu's full of nice winter warming recipes. And then you also get access to the dietitian approved recipe database as well. So you get access to over 100 dietitian approved recipes. And I've just taken all that stress and effort out of like planning your meals for your week for you. So I find a lot of people really struggle with it. It's one of the things that in private practice people are like, I need a meal plan, because they just hate organizing that stuff. Good morning, Cordy. Hate organizing it, have no idea what to eat, waste so much time like flicking through recipe books, trying to decide what to eat, trying to think if it's balanced or not, making sure that people actually eat what they're feeding them, all those sorts of things. So I've done all that hard work for you. Everything's balanced. There's a nice selection of protein sources. You get all the recipes to go with it. And it's designed for 2 people, so that if you are one, you can cut everything in half really easily and feed just one. Or what I've got a few people doing is they're just doing the whole thing and using the leftovers for lunch. So they've got their whole lunches and dinners sorted for the entire week, and all they have to do is do breakfast. And if you're a family of 4, then all you have to do is simply double everything, and then you've got double the serve really easily as well. So the only place that you might come unstuck, good morning, Carly. The only place you might come unstuck if you're a 3 or you're a 5 or something like that, or you're a 2.5 or something. So it just depends on I guess, family logistics, but it's designed around 2 so that you can easily do it for 1 or do it for 4. Beck said, hi, Carly. Oh, funny. Great little community we've got going on here. I love it. All right, so the doors open now. They close again next weekend, and then they closed again for another 3 months. So yeah, if you want in on that action, definitely jump on board now. I've set up 3 different pricing structures this time. So there's a weekly rate. If you want to just pay weekly, no commitment, like jump in and jump out whenever you want. And then there's the quarterly upfront, which is cheaper. And then there's an annual upfront as well, which is even cheaper. It's 50% off the weekly price. So depending on what sort of commitment you want or what you can afford, then there's 3 separate options for how long you want to do it for, and also, yeah, like how much you want to invest in it. So I'm pretty excited about that too. So they're the 2 main things that we're up to at the moment, trying to get done. So Carmel, what did you ask me? Carmel asked, when does the clock start counting down for timing post-exercise protein, when I finish running or after cool down and stretches? Good question. So I would, depending on what your cool down is, like if your cool down's a run, but if then it stops at the end of that when you stop like running. But if you're sort of sitting on the ground doing stretches and that sort of stuff, then I would suggest that doesn't count. So the clock would stop when you or start when you finish the run part in terms of recovery. Because I wouldn't say that stretching is like an active form of exercise that needs necessarily protein, and your heart rate is quite low then too. So I would say clock starts when you stop running, Carmel. That wasn't too difficult a question, thank you. My sister has the same question. Is it for running? Because I would suggest, like, even for people that do weights, it's like when you drop that last weight, when you stop doing that muscle fiber damage, that's when the clock would start for recovery. And so it's about 60 minutes post-exercise that all those hormones and enzymes peak. So we just want to make sure we're getting our recovery nutrition in within that window so that we're meeting that peak. Carmel said, I think she really wants to know if she has time to cook a full English breakfast. Yes, she does, as long as she's quick. So because a full English breakfast is, quite high protein, harder to digest, I'd suggest trying to get that in within 30 minutes of finishing a training, because that's going to take a while to break down all those components of that meal and pull it apart into its singular building blocks, which then absorb across the stomach lining into the bloodstream, and that's where we then use it for our recovery pathway. So I would encourage her to, if she can cook a full English breakfast, get it done and eating within 30 minutes. If it's something super quick and easy to digest like a smoothie, then you've probably got a bit longer. You've probably got 45, because that's going to break down much faster than like eggs and bacon and sausages, etc. She also wants to know what you think of black pudding for breakfast. Where is she? Is she in London, or is she in like Scotland? She's been in the UK for too long. So black pudding's actually a really good source of iron. So like as a female athlete, especially if she's an endurance athlete, that would be a really good thing to have in her breakfast, because it is a really good iron source. So yeah, I guess depends where she gets it from and where it's made. Some of them are full of a whole heap of crap, and some of them are actually quite good. So I'd just be checking the ingredients list as well to see what else is in there, because black pudding is, they put a whole heap of things in there to make it taste palatable. So I guess just getting it from like a nice local butcher or something like that, that doesn't have heaps of preservatives and chemicals and stuff in there, and also just checking what else is in there, because yeah, it can be made with so many different things. That's why she'll watch the replay. It's 11:18 p.m. there now. Yeah, she can definitely watch the replay. So hopefully that answers her question. Black pudding is definitely a great option in that breakfast window. If she is having those high iron foods like black pudding, then make sure there's some vitamin C in that meal to help with the absorption of that, and then no blockers as well. So things like the tannins in tea and coffee, have that away from that recovery breakfast, and calcium as well. So that's not blocking that really good iron. So yeah, if she's been in the UK for too long, she's probably an avid tea drinker. So tell her to hold off on the tea for at least sort of 30 to 60 minutes after she's had breakfast. Or if you're watching back, Carmel's sister, I'm not sure what your name is, I've forgotten. Make sure you have your tea and coffee away from your meal. Good question, Carmel. Look at you working Instagram. All right, I haven't seen Catherine jump online yet, who asked me about this bar. But what I wanted to do quickly is just do a quick little review of this new-ish YoPRO protein bar. So it's been on the market, it's been on the market for a few weeks now, maybe even a month or two. I'd have lost track of time completely with coronavirus. It's probably been on the market for 3 months and I have no idea. But you can find it in the cold section of the supermarket, which is why I found it really difficult to find. So it needs to stay in the fridge, and it's marketed as a good hit of protein. So it's 20 grams of protein per bar, and it's a 68 gram bar. So it's quite high. It cost $4, which is quite expensive for a snack or a bar. So I guess if cost is a prohibitive factor for you, it's not the cheapest way to get 20 grams of protein in. And then if we have a look at the ingredients, it's made mostly from a fiber. The first ingredient is corn fiber, and then it's 20% peanut butter, and then it's hydrolyzed collagen, which is where it's getting its protein from. So yeah, collagen is a type of protein peptide that our bodies are made up of anyway. And collagen has got some good evidence around injury and recovery. And then I guess things like hair and nails and skin as well. So because it is a protein source. So they're the main ingredients. And then there's also a bit of soy protein isolate in it as well. So I thought it might have been a yogurt bar, but it's actually got 1% yogurt powder in it. So I think it's 20% peanut butter. So I feel like it's going to taste a lot like peanut butter. I should have said at the start, actually, YoPRO haven't paid me to do this. I bought this. I spent $4 to buy this, and they have no idea that I'm doing this either. So just FYI, it is a completely off-the-cuff review as we go live. So yeah, it's got a lot of ingredients in it. Nothing too scary though. There's no numbers or anything in there. And then if we have a look at the nutrition information panel, so I would be looking at, for this, what you get per serving. So per serving, you're getting 21.7 grams of protein. It's over 1,000 kilojoules. It's 1,110 kilojoules, which is really high for a bar and a snack. So like, I guess just keep that in mind. As a snack, it's pretty high in kilojoules. It's probably, you know, sort of somewhere around half of what a meal is. So if you need all the calories you can get, go for it. If you're trying to get 20 grams of protein and not that many kilojoules, then there's definitely other ways to do that, like just plain yogurt, like the plain YoPRO yogurt, or you could also do plain Chobani or a scoop of WPI or eggs or meat or anything like that. So cheaper, better options if you're looking just for the protein hit without all those calories as well. The other thing is, it's because corn fiber is the first ingredient, it's got 10 grams of fiber per bar, which is really high. Now, corn fiber shouldn't be too rough on the tummy, but if you have any sort of gut issues or anything like that, then I'd just be careful with it. Maybe start with half a bar before you go into the full thing and see how your tummy goes. And then it also has 20 grams of carbs as well. So in terms of how you would use this, it needs to be in the fridge, so it's not the most convenient thing in the world. It also has a pretty quick expiry date. So this is actually already expired. I'm still going to eat it, but it is dated the 29th of May. But it is a best before date. So it means that it's best before that date. It doesn't necessarily mean it's off at that cutoff date. So a lot of products have a shelf life extended beyond that date. It's just, I guess, having a look at what it looks like, making sure there's nothing like weird on it, no growths, and it doesn't smell or taste off or anything like that. So I'm going to taste it and we'll see how we go. But where I would use it would be as a convenience option where you have access to a fridge, which is less convenient because it does need to be cold. So a normal sort of dry bar you could leave in your bag and have that at the end of a race, and then you're still getting that like recovery protein that we're talking about just before with caramel. Or you could have it like as a snack when you're at work, if you like are running around and don't have time to sort of sit down and have a proper snack. So yeah, if anybody has any questions on it, let me know. And I'm going to open it and taste it. Hopefully it goes okay with coffee. Because I think that's part of it. Like, I eat for pleasure, not just for fun. There you go. Smells like peanut butter and berry. So there you go, Insta. It's quite dense. Can you guys see that? Yeah. It's quite dense and packed together. And so I can see goji berries in it. I can see the chia seeds in it. It's really hard. I can't even rip it. No, it's got some sort of rice flakes in it or something. Soy nuggets, maybe that's what I can crunch on. So it's pretty chewy. This is weird filming myself and eating, but it's all right. It tastes okay. It's not like amazing. I don't know if I could get through a whole bar, that's for sure, unless I was hungry. But it's okay. I thought it might have been really yogurty and tasted like stevia, like YoPRO yogurt does, but it doesn't. So there you go. A live review of the YoPRO protein bar and what it tastes like. Didn't really blow my socks off, but it doesn't taste bad. So yeah, if you're interested, give it a go. It might be something useful as a snack for somebody that needs 20-gram protein hit snacks. Just be aware that it needs a fridge, and then it did go out of date quite quickly. And any sort of gut issues, I'd just be careful with the amount of fiber and stuff in there. It should be okay, but if you're really sensitive, and then it's got like hydrolyzed collagen is the third ingredient. So if collagen is something that you're looking to put into your diet, then it could be a good way to do that as well. So yeah, there you go. Beck said her teens love them. There you go. So yeah, like it could be good for a growing body because it is over 1,000 kilojoules per bar. If you're like a female looking to lose weight and like your calorie budget is tight, I probably wouldn't suggest it. There's definitely other options that you could do that are lower, that are like half the kilojoules but the same amount of protein. And then Beck, do your guys keep them in the fridge, or do they take them to school or uni or something? Because yeah, I don't know how long that would last out of the fridge for. It is quite dense though, so it probably would last a bit. Like it'd probably be okay for the day. Yeah, good hit of protein for a bar, which is great. Just, yeah, I guess expensive, $4 per bar, and quite high in kilojoules. And then, yeah, really high in like fiber, which should fill you up, which is really good. But just be careful if you've got sort of gut issues. Yes, fridge after gym session. Yep. So that's where you could use it. Use it after, like as your recovery snack before you get to a proper meal. Now, I missed a couple of questions up here, I think. Oh, Megan, listening to last week's chat and modifying rest day versus training days, best to not eat the same things. Does that mean different foods as well as modifying total calorie intake for the day? Good question. So, I guess it's a deep one. Answering that could take a long time. But I guess a summary is that you should definitely eat different. So last week we talked about that you shouldn't eat the same thing every day as a triathlete because your training's so different, right? You'll have a rest day, or like a day where you might just do a bit of core strength and that's it. Or an easy 30-minute jog or something, which is kind of a light training day, versus you might have a really hard bike session in the morning and then a hard swim in the evening, and you're backing that up with something the next day, and you've done something the day before as well. So we're talking about like the global picture of a training week. You have those kind of double session, hard, high intensity things maybe in the weekdays. And then the weekend, you've also got the opportunity for longer rides and longer runs. So you just need to have a different strategy for the different types of days. So yes, your overall calorie load should change. But if it's not something that you've done before, or you have no concept of how to do it, then like just getting into that nitty gritty of those numbers can be quite overwhelming to start with. So in the course, I kind of teach you how to build your plate based on those days without having to get into the details of that. So yeah, your overall calorie load should shift. Your overall carbohydrate load should shift as well. So you need less on a lighter training day, Megan, versus a really heavy day, obviously. But then having the ability to know kind of what types of foods to do that, because we don't want to be eating like nothing on a rest day, like really small portion sizes, because we're still going to be starving. So it's just about manipulating your plate and changing the types of foods that you've got on there, so you still have a full-size plate of food, same sort of volume, but the calories are different, the carbohydrate load's different compared to what you might choose on a really big training session day, so that you can get that fuel in without having to eat mountains of food. So your plate should be set up differently, but it should still be the similar sort of volume, if that makes sense. So we don't want to be eating tiny amounts on rest days and just being starving and then suffering through that. You still want to eat that volume, whereas a heavier training day, you don't need that much volume, but we need more carbohydrate, we need more calories. And so there's just strategies around how to do that. So yes, different types of foods can help with that. And then just, yeah, I guess having some structure around what your plate looks like depending on across the week. So in the Triathlon Nutrition course, we go through that. It's just some of the foundations, but it's also one of the things that I go through with all of my clients is that periodization concept of trying to not eat the same thing every day and then knowing how to manipulate your plate to do that. So I hope that answers your question, Megan. I guess it's a big, deep hole, that periodization topic, and it is really simple to do when you know how to do it. But trying to figure that sort of stuff out for yourself is really hard because Joe's not on here. She may watch the replay, but she's trying to figure out her macros for protein and all this sort of stuff based around training, and it just gets so overwhelming, and there's so much crap on the internet. You just need to dial that right back and get just some basic guidance first before you start then building on those extra layers. So I hope that answers that one. Any other questions before I finish my coffee? Hello, everyone that's joining on Insta. Now, Facebook, I have no idea what's going on because it's different today. There's a different sort of structure set up. So I'm not sure. Well, it says there's 4 people on there actually. So if you're on Facebook, give me a holler because I don't know who's there. Somebody's asked, do energy gels for long rides block ability to lose body fat? No. Short answer, no. So depending on the length of the ride, will depend on how much fuel you need. And also depending on where you are in your season. So if you're in off season and you're really just riding just for social, then you probably don't need as much fuel. Oh, here's Joe, speaking of the devil. And Megan said, yes, awesome, thank you. You're welcome, Megan. Okay, so answer your question, AJ Brady 95. Oh, you're one of the 4 on Facebook. Hello, Joe. You sneaky thing. I can't see who's on Facebook. Oh, no, there's 3 on Facebook, so you must have jumped. Okay, so if you're in the off season and you're doing long rides, then you probably don't need gels. I'd probably suggest you more so have real food, which is why I created the Fuel Your Adventure book. It's a whole heap of sort of energy balls and bars that you can have that are real food options to have during training. I'd suggest doing more like that in an off-season ride, just because you don't need to be having gels all the time if you're not racing for ages. So you want to be using things like gels and sports drink as race nutrition practice. Joe just said that it wouldn't let me post comments shorter than 100 characters. I have no idea. I don't know how to change this setting. Not sure. It just says discussion. I'll have to look at that later. All right. So, and then yes, fueling during rides doesn't block your ability to burn fat. So when it really depends on your intensity. So the higher the intensity, the exercise, the more carbohydrate we burn. Okay, so as the intensity steps up from like quite aerobic, like 60% VO2 max, we are burning around 50% carbs and 50% fat. As the intensity climbs up to more like 85%, which is like hard, then we still are burning fat, but the proportion compared to carbohydrate is less because we start really drawing on our muscle glycogen stores. So our carbohydrate that we store in our muscle. So it definitely doesn't block burning fat by fueling. What happens is you'll burn more fat overall if you can train at higher intensity for longer. And to do that, often you need to fuel sessions. So there's kind of 2 strategies. You either go out and do fasted training and don't train particularly long or hard, like quite aerobic sort of style. That'll burn a fair amount of fat, but that has injury risk with it as well. So we don't want to go for too long doing that. And then do your other high intensity sessions and fuel them because you'll train harder and faster and you'll burn more fat and calories doing that way. So yeah, eating doesn't necessarily block fat burning, but yeah, there's a deeper science to that. So I kind of hope that surface answer has answered your question. And I guess I would also suggest you don't need to be eating gels all the time if you're not in like training blocks for racing. I'd go more real food options rather than gels. Okay, so she said, wonderful, thank you. Hopefully that answers your question, AJ Brady. I think I answered it. Do energy gels for long rides block ability to lose body fat? No, definitely not. It's just, yeah, getting a concept, getting a picture in your head of the type of ride it is, how long it is, excuse me, where you are in your season, just getting all like that as a big picture to know how much to fuel, when, and what types of foods to have during as well. So there's no simple answer to sports nutrition. I hope people are kind of getting that gist, is that there's no like one size fits all. It is highly individual. And like I said in the beginning, we want to try and build that foundation down the bottom first before we start looking at all the other things above that too. So like gels, I'd be putting up there in the middle. making sure you've got like your pre-training nutrition sorted, your recovery nutrition sorted, your overall training week nutrition sorted, before we then build on to that and do long ride nutrition. So if you want to learn about long ride nutrition, that's one of the lessons in the Triathlon Nutrition course. And I teach you those foundations of what you should be doing to fuel long rides. So yeah, I filmed it to try and really help answer all these questions that I keep getting around like pre-training, recovery and all that sort of stuff. It's all in one spot. So if you're a triathlete and you need some help with nutrition, that is your best place to start to get really cost-effective sports nutrition advice and fundamentals that you need to put in place first before you start building on that, and adding all those extra layers on top as well. So I'll link in here later the link to that course as well if you're interested in it. So at the moment it's on sale, so you want to grab it while it's on sale before it jumps up an extra $200. Joe said, interesting. You're welcome, Joe. All right, there are heaps of dietitians on here again. All right, so any more questions? What I might do is I'll pull the random chat and eating of this bar out of this live video too, and I will re-share it later if anybody's interested, so they don't have to watch the whole thing to get that. But yeah, keen to hear if anybody's eating them, enjoying them, what they think about them, and when they're using them. But it's a good little hit of protein that you could use as a snack, instead of like if you're struggling to get to your recovery meal. It's just not as convenient because it does need the fridge. AJ Brady said, yes, thanks. We'll check the course and recipes out. Yeah, good one. So yeah, Fuel Your Adventures is the book that you're looking for if you want more real food options to have on long rides. And because there's kind of no races on the cards at the moment, I'd be utilizing that as your off-season nutrition, forced off-season. And then, yeah, definitely check out that course if you are new to Triathlon Nutrition. All right, guys. Well, I finished my coffee and it's starting to kick in, so it might be time to do some work. So if there's no other questions, I'll have to sort out Facebook, but this is our last coffee and questions for a few weeks. So I will check you back in July, taking a few weeks off. So I'll let you know when we come back live, and then hopefully you've got all these questions banked up for me and it's like massive. And I need 2 coffees to get through the sessions. Good morning, Kel. We're just about to sign out, Kel. You'll have to watch the replay. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, Joe said enjoy the break. Thanks, Jojo. I will see you guys in July. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's all good, Kel. You'll have to watch the replay. See you in a few weeks, team.